Ah. Hello everybody. We'll just be doing some drawing tonight. A lot later than usual, sorry about that. It's, let me move some stuff on my desk, make this easier for me. Let's see here. Hello, Shears. Ah, Michael, hello. Oh, here, let me grab something real quick. Yeah, Oh, there we go. I'll grab that. And yeah, I guess that. Okay. There you go. You're in the middle of a party? Michael. Michael. Enjoy the party. This bird looks at gay people. I do a little bit. Just a little bit. What a crime to humanity. Very good, very good. Hello, Ian. Is there any Pokemon that I think are better in 3D than in 2D? No. Not a one. The main reason for that is just like design sensibility, where Pokemon are designed for 2D key art, and then those key arts are then handed off to a 3D studio for them to be made in the 3D models, and they basically never account for how something will look in 3D, like first, when designing something in Pokemon, because 90% of what people will be looking at is the 2D artwork. So unless they start like actively changing their design sensibility to account for 3D, it'll never really like work too well. I don't know. Okay. I never really thought, like, Chase's in-game sprite was supposed to look flattering. I think as a modern in-game sprite, like, looks good for what they're going for. But it's not like a lot of the art assets for Echo are the best looking things on the market. Obviously, no offense to, like, the people that made them. Never forget drug dealer Beta Leo sprite. That sprite is so scrungly. Like, I think that's the word I would use for it. He's scrungly. Twunk TJ sprite. Oh my god. It's not supposed to be this way. Demon. I feel like I made Chase look a bit scrungly here. That's okay. He's probably, like, not this skinny. But we're gonna make him a thin lad anyway. I mean, this lad probably doesn't take care of himself. Well, he, like, barely sleeps in the game. He's also an active college student. They don't sleep. Would you rather draw soup or a sandwich? I never liked drawing inanimate objects. I never really had good mechanical design. so most of the time inanimate objects are actually really annoying for me to draw. Josh loves sandwiches. Oh my god. Yep. Love them. early enough? I thought I was streaming later than normal. I mean, I am, but you know. But hello, Wolverine. Only 3 minutes of the stream. I mean, that's why the streams are archived, Wolverine. I know it might be more exciting to watch them while they're live, but yeah, you know. The archives are there, right? Hello, Chase. Shunter, yeah. Are you serving Chunder? I mean, don't I just serve like Chunter every day? The good old Chunt. He's the most me for protagonist in a VN, I think. For better or worse, you know? Did you just say for like that? What's wrong with it? Isn't that how the kids do it? That's how the kids say it, right? Say swag more? What? How do you even use the word for like swag? Like, I don't get it. Like, is it like shui? They say for real, for real? What? Eh? Or that? Look, in this household we love shui. It do just be that way. Don't spread misinformation. What do you mean? It's fine. Okay. I should probably enlarge this. There, does this feel like a more chill Chunter, you know? Would you hang out with this man? Maybe once? What do you mean? He's just a cute little otter. You'll never forget it. He gets splat all over the ground. No! It wasn't very swag. No! It's fine. I'm old, I can use it. Oh no! I can never tell what, like, generations used what slang and things. I don't know, man. It's difficult to keep up with. It changes like every 3 months. That's what it feels like. College was definitely the worst with that. Just because you had so many different generations of people, and so I'd be hearing people say like, yo, what a certified banger, and like, yo, that's fire, like, by different people, and I'm like, what does all of this mean? Like, what is all of this? Everyone used beast? What the fuck does beast mean? Nothing is worse than cap. Oh my god, when Darian tried to explain that shit to me, I just like, no. No. What, no, what does that even mean? Skibbity toilet wristler fight. Cat means no one's lying. How does that mean not lying? What happens? Does that mean lying? What is that? You know what? It's fine. It's fine. I don't need it. I don't even need it. It's fine. Kids today can have all the slang they want. I think it's just some YouTuber. Okay. That's probably fine. That's probably fine. I'm sure it's for someone. Man, I think one that confused me, I think this was when I was in middle school. Maybe. I just remember, like, after a summer going back to school, and then suddenly everyone was saying, like, dude, that's so OD, or some bullshit like that. And I'm like, what? Huh? Like, I shouldn't be thinking as a middle schooler, like, what's wrong with kids these days? But I certainly was. Is that an iCarly thing? I don't think so. Odie or O? I think it's just like the letters, like O and then D. Like, I don't know. I don't know what they meant by that. And like, I would ask, and they'd be like, oh, like, it's the new thing, Josh. And I'm like, I don't, what? And I didn't bother. I just didn't bother. I didn't bother caring about it. They stopped saying it the next year. So it's all good. Even as a youngin', you were an old man. Well, kids would just, like, show up at school, did some, like, when, like, this is the new big style, like, with clothes, or this is the new thing that, like, you say, it's the new cool thing on the block, and, like, I'm just not, I'm not there. Over the top? Because overdose? Oh my god, kids those days. Sure. And what's weird is that, like, most of the places I grew up weren't even, like, internet savvy, like, places. So I really don't know how people were getting, like, into those fads and things. Just, oh no. Did they learn it from, like, a TV show that was airing? Was that it? Did a TV show air over the summer that I just didn't know? I wonder if Josh... What did I do? What? 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 Eh? Am I being accused of things again? It's probably fine. Oh my god! I don't think Josh listens to music like that. I don't really listen to music. Or at least not like that. I don't know. Look, back when I had an MP3 player, right, as like a middle schooler and high school student, look, the only songs on there were stuff like it was a bunch of JRPG music and anime opening and ending themes, and that was it. That was it. Alright, see you, Chase. Have fun on the train. Trains are cool. Yeah, Yeah, I thought it was cool when I was like in school. There was a they had turned like the train depot into like a small little gallery for a night. Like they did that on occasion. And there was a student event, so like they did display one of my pieces, and that was cool. That was a thing. We'll embolden that. You know the Boys series? Wait. Like a series named Boys? Or a series named, like, the Boys series? Wait. Oh, like, The Boys? Like that show? Never watched it. Sorry, that took me a second. Nah, I have a very strict golden rule that I live by in life, and that is to not watch any live action adaptations of comic books. We're just not gonna do it. We'll avoid discourse that way. It's not gonna happen. That was a comic, and there it is. The cultural replacement. Everyone says it won't happen, but it always does. Like, I always hear good things about it, and I'm just not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen. I thought they were doing something original for once. Cirrus. Superheroes by way of modern cynicism is not original. We've been doing it since the 40s. It's part of the reason why I think The Boys is really boring in concept. It's just, oh, this again? It's like the one trick people pull out to be like, how do we make a superhero thing for adults? And it's, okay, we'll put it through a lens of modern cynicism. And that'll make it more quote-unquote realistic. It's the most boring thing. I think the only time I ever kind of liked it was, like, The Authorities. I think The Authorities did it okay. And I thought Massiveverse was gonna go in that direction, and then it didn't. And so, like, that one no longer really falls into that category, like, thank God. Because that one seemed like it was gonna go like, ah, look how cynical this is gonna be, and then it just became a normal superhero thing, and I'm like, thank God! Is that what the Watchmen did? So the Watchmen's whole, like, thing was that they were, like, here, we're gonna put superheroes in a realistic and... what was the term I just used? Cynical lens. To show audiences that superheroes don't work in this environment and lose everything that makes that genre special. Well, unfortunately, people thought it was really cool, so now we're stuck with it forever. You know, it's one of those books that everyone learned the wrong lesson. That happened to Alan Moore a lot. I think it's the reason why Alan Moore hates his audience. Which, like, totally fair. Yeah, because Alan Moore, I know a lot of people disagree with this, like, statement that Alan Moore made in some interview, like, 30 years ago, where he's like, superheroes are inherently children's media, and as soon as you start to bridge it past that, it will lose its inherent value. Which, like, I do agree with. And it's not that you can't tell adult stories with them, it's that you need to understand, like, how that world and those characters behave. And that is they are inherently, like, children's media. Like, you should be going in trying to make, like, an all-ages thing with characters like Superman and Batman. Is kind of like the idea of the statement. Most people just took it for, he says it can't be adult. No. You know, because the way people are. And boy, Alan Moore's so bitter about the whole thing, he doesn't even, like, let people put his name on his adaptations anymore. Like, he doesn't like to be credited for when they adapt his stuff. And I think on record, he only ever said that he liked one adaptation that was done of his work. And that was when Justice League Unlimited adapted his Superman annual titled For the Man Who Has Everything. He was like, I liked that one. It was pretty okay. He didn't say anything like glowing about it. It was a very quick comment of like, yeah, it was alright. Which, the fact that he thought positively at all about it was like, oh my god. Like, I still prefer Alan Moore's, like, version of the story. But Bruce Timm and his team did a pretty good job adapting it. Like, the inherent value of that comic is still maintained in the adaptation, which is something that, like, most adaptations don't seem to get. Granted, like, they did just change the theme of the comic altogether, which, like, can be seen as a negative. I will say that I like them both, even if they say different things. Though I think that has more to do with, like, the demographic, right? Because you have, like... You know, Justice League Unlimited is for a Y7 audience, and the comic book version of For the Man Who Has Everything is a rather bleak story. It, like, doesn't really end on a happy note, and it's kind of depressing. So, like, the animated adaptation redoes it to where it still has the exact same ending, but it's framed in a more optimistic light. Like, the comic definitely had more to do with, like, generational decay. And how, like, weirdly inescapable that is. While the animated adaptation chooses to look at it with a little more optimism. Like, yes, there will be generational decay, but, like, we shouldn't be sad about that. We should learn from it. While keeping basically all the dialogue the same. It was kind of neat. It becomes an adaptation that I think is very respectable. And you don't really see that in, like, live-action adaptations, because they just don't care. They're a little too enamored with either trying to make things look the same or aging up the material in the most boring ways possible. which is a bit of a shame. Granted, things aren't terrible in the worlds of comics today. Some people don't like what DC is doing right now. I kind of think it's neat. Since they gave us like the full announcement, like, it was really weird that the past like 3 to 4 months DC was purposefully leaking their new like lineup of comics that are gonna show up later this year. It was a very odd marketing scheme, because everyone's like, well, this is purposefully like being leaked. This is really odd, because when it was really obvious, it was really obvious that like all those leaks were from DC themselves. So it was very weird. But they're starting up a new imprint of comics called like Absolute. So we'll be getting comics like Absolute Batman and Absolute Superman, and it'll be a new universe and continuity that's separate from the main series. They won't stop running the main series for comics, but it's just like, it's basically DC's Ultimate Universe, is what it's going to be. But they're calling it like the Absolute Universe. And the current event going on right now, which is Absolute Power, will lead into that in some way. I kind of like Absolute Power. I know people are complaining about it because they're like, I've never really gotten the people that are like, that character can't win, they're too weak. Because like, it's Amanda Waller taking out every superhero on Earth, and she did so in one single issue, and people are like, that's stupid. And I was kind of like, yes, slay, Amanda Waller, queen. No, but that'll somehow... What's the point? So they can have new comics that don't have to be burdened by the current continuity. Mother Waller, right? Yeah, so hello, Selkie. That's the current event, is Amanda Waller is just like, she's teamed up with Failsafe and Queen Brainiac to just make a series of Amazo units that could just take out any superhero. And she launched them all at once and has seemingly taken out every magic and meta hero in the DC universe. So the only characters left are the tech heroes, and they're not doing too hot. Especially since over in Green Arrow, yeah, if you don't know, Green Arrow is now siding with Amanda Waller. So like, some of even the higher profile tech heroes are now no longer on the heroic side or whatever. You had that amazing stinger at the end of last issue where like Batman calls up Green Arrow and is like, oh, we need your help or whatever, and you just have Green Arrow go like, I've warned you before, Batman, but today I'll be on the right side of history. It's so serious. Kind of love it. That's the melodrama I want. Like, I was kind of laughing when I was reading it, but I was having a good time. We support women wrongs only when it's Amanda Waller. It's kind of a fun comic. Like, it's Mark Waid, right? So there's such reverence to how he writes those characters that it's kind of, even when he does goofy shit, it's always It's always hard to dislike it. Like, I'm definitely liking it a lot more than fucking Marvel's event that's going on right now. Like, Jesus. I also love how you can tell this event was supposed, like the current Marvel event was supposed to coincide with stuff in the MCU, and whoops, there we go. This event now like coincides with nothing because it's a Blade event. And there was supposed to be a Blade movie this phase of the MCU. Oh well. I guess we're all too fans of Blade in the world. They're getting an event comic. With the gimmick being that Blade is the villain. Never heard of Blade? Ah. Don't worry. Oh. It's like, just don't worry about it. It's fine. Yeah, he's the sunglasses guy. He would do that? He really would. Oh my god. Like, I know that they don't portray Green Arrow like this in in adaptation, but in like, for multiple decades, Oliver Queen, right? Green Arrow. He's always been like the worst ally you can think of. Look, I realize we're so past Hard Traveling Heroes that nobody remembers what that comic is, but Jesus Christ, I love going back to Hard Traveling Heroes. It is the most... Oh, these writers are trying their best with these themes, and it's funny how bad it is. Because Hard Traveling Heroes is a book in which Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, and Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, are going on adventures across America, but they're fighting social issues. It was the 80s. Like, okay, it was fine. It aged very badly. It aged very badly. But it is really funny in retrospect. And, like, I think a lot of people tend to look back on it going, like, they were trying. Granted, it does lead to hilarious out-of-context panels. Like, Green Arrow wearing, like, an Indian headdress, shooting a yellow arrow at, like, Hal Jordan, saying, "You're not doing enough to save black people." It's very funny in retrospect. But, you know, they were trying, you know. It is a book that was trying to be more socially aware. It did not work. At all. Like, no. But, you know, it's a good effort. we can applaud them for trying. Right? So people that remember, like, that era of Green Arrow, like, when they did this whole Amanda Waller thing, they were like, yep. Yeah, he would. It's just what it is. Why is Black Canary with this man? Like, she had so many other good alternatives for, like, love interests. And they were like, no, she has to be with Green Arrow. Let's forget the fact that, like, when she was dating Dr. Midnighter, like, he would legitimately, like, listen to her and be like, let her make decisions for herself. And was like an overall cool boyfriend, like, relationship goals. But nope, Oliver rose from the dead, so they have to break up. It's fine. Man, she quit the Justice Society because of that. Like, damn it. Granted, her replacement on the team, iconic, legendary. Because when Black Canary had to leave the team in, like, the late 90s, early 2000s, she called in a replacement, and that replacement ended up being Power Girl. So... because they're friends, you know? They're both feminist icons. If we can call them that. At one point, we could call them that. Look, they tried with Power Girl for decades, okay? Yeah, Power Girl was the tits that grew. Everyone loved it until they didn't. Like, the downside is that, like, Power Girl was written so much better than Supergirl. So it's, like, kind of tragic that that DC feels obligated to, like, not use Power Girl as often anymore, because people are like, no, but she's just, like, a pair of tits, and that's sexist, when it's like, she's had more going on in terms of, like, characterization than, like, any other member of the super family. But okay, buddy. Though she did get a Dawn of DC comic run, so, like, that was cool. I didn't really like the comic. Felt like it was trying too hard to apologize for Power Girl's existence. But it was cool that they did bother to give her that comic. That was a little bit of an apology for having Power Girl be absent for the entirety of the 2010s, basically. It's just like, oh, this is a decade without, like, Power Girl. That's weird. Yes, technically she existed, but we don't talk about that. She had, like, one small comic series that didn't even last a year. And even then, that was an alt continuity version of Power Girl that they never brought back. You know, because the New 52 was a clusterfuck. And no one likes that shit. Hello, Pervamite. Hope that's, like, within the ballpark on how to pronounce that. Yeah, ta-ta-ta-ta. Granted, I will admit, depending on how Superman Legacy looks, I'd be interested in watching it. But then I'd have to break my rule, so I probably still won't watch it. But that one's, like, the only live-action adaptation of comics that was announced that I looked at and went, like, now wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm like, who's gonna be in that? Wait, you're finally doing that? Oh, wait, that could be cool. Like, I'm surprised that James Gunn is, like, trying to do a bunch of stuff that fans have been asking for forever. Both in terms of, like, casting and what characters are going to show up. And he's going for Bronze Age stuff. It's kind of cool. It makes me legitimately interested. Like, when he had said, like, Guy Gardner is going to be the Green Lantern for this universe, I was like, what? And he's like, Nathan Fillion's gonna play him. And I'm like, wait, this is what we've been asking for like 15 years. And then he's just like, Metamorpho's gonna be in it. And I'm like, Metamorpho? What? Show me the costume. Show me the costume. Like, actually show me what he's going to look like. Maybe Darian can... Well, Darian doesn't give a shit about, like, those characters. Like, the only characters Darian cares about, and, you all are going to be shocked. And I mean, you will be shocked. He likes Cloak and Dagger. I know I've mentioned that in, in the Borderlands pre-sequel playthrough. Wonder Woman and She-Hulk. That is the list of characters that, like, that Darian really likes. Boy, he sure do like dominant women. You can make fun of him if you want. Kind of expected to say. So he loves Zatanna. The problem is that Zatanna doesn't get comic books anymore. So, like, he loves Zatanna, but, like, he's not reading anything Zatanna related because those comics don't exist anymore. If you're wondering why Zatanna doesn't really exist anymore, see what I said about Power Girl. There you go. There was, like, a whole thing where people were like, Zatanna's too sexualized to be a feminist icon. But then, like, what do you do with Zatanna visually? Because, you know, you can't redesign her, right? Like, and even then, I don't even think she's that sexualized, but okay. Yeah, like, she's just wearing the normal stage magician motif. And, you know, people got in a hissy fit last decade because female comic book characters got into a huge thing last decade for feminism. And DC caught the brunt of it with their characters, and so it just made them really self-conscious about how they portray their female characters now. So a lot of them that used to get comics now just don't appear anymore. Or have, like, they're so revised to try to make it to where no one can complain about it, to where people now think the comics are boring and are now not buying it. So then the comic gets canceled, and then people complain that it's like, people don't want to buy these comics because they have female protagonists. And no. One, the comic book community is mostly full of horny straight men, so, like, they would buy a book for like that if it wasn't boring as shit to read, right? So they've kind of, like, shot themselves in the foot. Always before any woman is portrayed. This is true. This is actually facts. But it's weird because, like, people liked Power Girl when she was, like, a I am female, hear me roar feminist icon back in the 90s and early 2000s. People thought that was a riot. And they kind of took that away from Power Girl, and now she's so boring. People are like, what's the point? That's considered woke now, but that was an endearing character trait of hers back in the day. Like, I kind of love the scene where, like, it was in Justice Society back in, like, the early 2000s, in which, like, Power Girl is talking with Huntress, Stargirl, and Hawk Girl. And Power Girl is like, no matter what, like, people will look at us, like, a little bit differently just because we're female heroes, and that's okay. If they're going to look at us differently, know what I say? Show them everything you've got. Like, and she, like, winks to the audience when she says that. I'm like, okay, like, that's kind of fun. I always thought that was tongue-in-cheek. They kind of, like, used to let those characters just voice opinions. Now they kind of don't, and they're really stagnant and lame. Granted, they did get a writer for Wonder Woman that, like, is very outspoken with his views and always writes really emotionally and politically charged comics. And everyone hates his Wonder Woman run because it's like, oh no, Wonder Woman's outspoken with political views, and it's a political comic now, you know. Wonder Woman, a literal political ambassador within the world of comics. What a shame it's turned into a political book. I feel like everyone forgot that she was a politician in universe. And it's been that way for, like, the better part of a century. Though they don't use that in the movies, right? Like, she's not an actual politician in those. I mean, she's that in the comics, and even in some animated shows, they bring that up. Justice League Unlimited did that, where she would get, like, she was considered an ambassador, and so she had to, like, do political-based episodes, and would just leave the team some episodes to be like, oh, I have to do a thing, so I can't join you on this mission. And I always thought that was cool. You know, that's a Y7 kids show acknowledging that stuff. But now it's bad? Like, I don't get people today. I don't get it. That's fine. I'm hoping that, like, with the absolute lineup of comics, like, DC will pull their heads out of their ass. And I don't mind, like, who they're getting to do the absolute universe. Like, okay, like, I'm not the biggest fan of Scott Snyder. I'm not the biggest fan. But, his comics are at the very least entertaining in the short term. But they're also getting Joshua Williamson, and, like, his comics I've always found rather charming, even if I personally didn't like, if I don't like the story he's going for, right? Or his characterization of characters, I always find, like, his writing charming, so I am looking for, and those are, like, the two architects of the absolute universe for DC, so hoping it shakes out and it'll be fun. I would like something fun to read under DC, because it's been rough. I thought Dawn of DC was not a great, like, era for that publication. Just like, oof, these comics are boring. Why is that? We don't want to offend anyone. What, DC? you can't use that as a defense. Like, I feel like the only thing I, like, really like reading from DC right now is Justice Society. And, like, I just love that team. So I'm gonna... Even when that book is bad, I still enjoy it. I don't even think it's currently bad. I think it's just marred down with event tie-ins. That, and they exploded the cast recently, so that's also a bit of a trying to balance things out. I don't mind the expansion on the team. It's actually really cute. A bunch of kids of like old Golden Age villains are getting like a second chance at life by Huntress recruiting them into the Justice Society. So we have like just a bunch of like reformed villains on the team. And Gentleman Ghost is back to being like more of a heroic character, and that's been decades since we've had that, so I'm happy about that. And Grundy's on the team. It's very good. It's a lot of like the sad boy like villains that are like were villains under like weirder circumstances, or I forget the ice guy's name. I always forget his name. But he was like a villain who his dad was a major villain during like the Golden Age. So like he was born with the same powers of ice manipulation. So he was just pulled into the world of villainy by his dad. And so he's getting like, oh, join the Justice Society. We can like help you out. Like maybe if you behave, like kind of a thing. And it's like, it's cute. But that comic's kind of on hold because of Absolute Power. It's like, oh, well, their storyline has to stop for us to have an Absolute Power tie-in. It's a little annoying. That's like the one like awful part about like DC's mandates with their events. It's like, oh no, every comic has to acknowledge the current event. Everything. And I'm like, I don't think it does, DC. I don't know about that one. But the tie-ins aren't bad. They're not poorly written. They're kind of fun. You know, you have the leader of the Justice Society, Mr. Terrific, trying to like figure out the whole Absolute Power situation, you know, because he's a tech hero. So his powers weren't turned off. That, and they're putting Mr. Terrific into the new Superman movie. That was another announcement that I was like, now wait a minute. Like, we've been complaining about the lack of, like, black heroes in, like, the movie universe. And I've always just been like, put in Mr. Terrific. Like, everyone likes Mr. Terrific. And they're finally doing that. And they showed off his costume. And it is just his costume from the comics. Like, it's pretty accurate. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, there he is. It's Mr. Terrific. Though, rather than having, like, the painted T on his face, he has a domino mask. And I totally get that. Like, that's fine. Like, would I like them to have, like... the T painted on his face? Yes, but I understand that's a little too much, and this is probably a lot cheaper for costuming. So I know that's like more of a budget thing. But then that makes me wonder about Metamorpho, because you can't. Like, there's a reason why Metamorpho hasn't been in live-action adaptations. Like, or have like a lot of I thought it was like an actual domino plastered onto his skin. No. You know, the domino mask thing. It's Miss Marvel's got one. You know how it is. Opinions on artificial intelligence? Like, AI exists? It's not bad that it exists inherently. Just depends on how you use it. Or how much we do with it. I do not have strong feelings on AI. How about that? Yeah, Though I guess my question is, because like just because of the modern climate we're in, it's like, what do people even mean when they like ask about artificial intelligence or AI? Like, are they talking about like the actual programming thing, or the controversies with like the AI art replication thingy, or and like there's so many like things one could mean when they just say like like the AI stuff going on. That's like, well, we almost need to be more specific now. Do you hate AI? You see, because that is a different question, because that's asking like for the current like trends of AI art replication, and like those programs should be limited, and they're like what they're doing is wrong inherently. Like it should not work. The way that it works shouldn't be how it works. But I understand why it works the way that it is. And it's new, so we'll just have to figure it out as we go for like restrictions on it and how everything works. Like it's going to be a hard 5 years is how I'm going to word it. But hopefully it'll be fine after that growing pain. But like everything, like it depends on how we use it, right? Because like obviously I'm not going to be like, we cannot have AI assisted thing at all, because then we would have to close all 3D now, wouldn't we? Because most of 3D animation is artificially generated. That's kind of how it functions, right? You write a script for it to like make the stuff, like for its physics and whatnot. Like that's how that works. Or like for the effects work, or in between frames are generated automatically, unless you want to like key pose that yourself, and no, you won't. So it's just stuff we have to deal with. We'll just have to give it time. Yeah. Because, like, personally, I don't like getting into the weird debate of, like, but it doesn't have, like, the soul of an artist's work or whatever, because, like, look, most general audiences don't even know what that means. So... Usually the way I think about it is, like, let the people in the industry shake this out, and, like, everyone else can shut up and wait for how they choose to deal with it. Yeah, he looks cute. I do like drawing Chunter. Speaking of it, right, they would have to like cancel all roguelikes too, wouldn't they? That's all whatever. And I thought it was kind of funny recently where a friend brought up that like there was a Hellboy game that came out last year, and they were asking like why I didn't play it, and I was like, there was a Hellboy game that came out last year, and like I re-googled it, and I was like, then I remembered why I ignored it, and it's like, all right, it was a roguelike. Huh. Unfortunate. Because, like, if it wasn't a roguelike, I probably would have picked it up. Unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Man, because of that, I ended up rereading the first volume of Hellboy and just going like, we're never going to get this ever again. Like, I kind of just like had this weird moment of like, we will never get anything like the Hellboy comic, just ever. Like we had it once. The people that read it loved it, and that's just how that's going to be. The despair in your voice. Well, because like that comic is beautiful in ways that are kind of hard to explain. Do a new game, but alas, right? You really don't like that genre then? So I actually don't really have too much like dislike of the roguelike genre. My issue with the roguelike genre is I'll do one playthrough, and by one playthrough I mean one route, maybe not route, until I die, right? And then I'll go, I guess that's it. Because those games want you to replay it too much. Like you're replaying it for the sake of replaying it and not for any like thing, like any goal other than like the thrill of playing it. And fuck man, I don't care. I don't care. And then they've made it worse in the modern age of roguelikes. Because I actually don't mind old roguelikes. I actually think they're perfectly fine for how they're done. Newer roguelikes try to introduce more of a narrative to get normies to want to play it, and I'm like, that makes it even worse. Because now you're replaying the same thing over and over and over for the jankest story progression ever. I don't like it. And for my specific issue with like the Hellboy one is Hellboy is such a narrative and dialogue driven comic. It is not an action series, which is why I hate most adaptations of Hellboy. Like, that is a mystery thriller comic, and they always adapt it as just an action thing. And so them going, here's an action roguelike, I was kind of, no, what's the point? Give me like a point and click adventure with Hellboy. Like, that would be the appropriate genre. I could go play Isaac, and that's the issue as well, is that like a lot of the modern roguelikes don't play as good as older ones, and like I'm just like, I could just go play Isaac and probably have more fun. But like for Hellboy, it's like, really? A roguelike? That's what you chose? And the worst part is that they got the comic book author to write the story. So now it's like, I kind of want to play it just so I can get the new story. And I don't want to have to play a roguelike. Like, they got Mike to come back and write more Hellboy. Yeah, Hellboy roguelike, right? Because, like, I do weirdly think any new Hellboy content in the world of comics is always a blessing. Because if you don't know, Hellboy had an ending. Like, it has a definitive ending, and they cannot print comics post the end of the ending of Hellboy. They can only make more flashback tales, or like, this takes place during these years of Hellboy, but nothing past that final issue, because you can't. Yeah, it has a real ending, and I remember reading that the first time, like 15 years ago, and just... It's a beautiful ending, but also why it gotta end that way. It's, you know, you'll never see it adapted. You never will, because it is a time. One, you have the issue of, like, do you do the BPD ending, which is, like, the definitive ending of Hellboy, or do you do Hellboy in Hell? Like, and yes, the BPD ending takes place after Hellboy in Hell, but, like, it's... The problem is that I think audiences, like, movie audiences, right, wouldn't want Hellboy in Hell. Like, that's just a comic that I think it's going to be loved by Hellboy fans and literally no one else, because it's basically episodes 25 and 26 of Evangelion, but for Hellboy, because it is this, like, first-person introspective, like, Hellboy looking back at himself and going, like, did it have meaning? With what's going to happen, did it all have meaning? And it's a sad read. It really is. Like, I kind of want to reread it because it's been so long since I've read it. I think that's why when they do most adaptations of Hellboy, they always do an original story rather than adapting the comics. One, the comics aren't very exciting in the way that people probably immediately think. Because you look at Hellboy, right? And he's this big old brute. And then you read the comics, and it's just people sitting around going like, want to go to the bar tonight? You know? Shoot the shit? Maybe? Like, that's the vibe of the comic most of the time. Either that or it's episodic mysteries ripping on like different mythologies, and that's always fun. Because that book is like mostly episodic mystery stories until like the ending. That, and you have some weird things, right? Like the first story for Hellboy is like, hey, so these like Nazi frogmen by way of Rasputin are like terrorizing this family curse, right? Deal with it. Like, that's how we start. And they just get weirder from there. Okay, work, right? I think that's the reason why they do original style stories for adaptation, is they're like, it's too weird. The comic is too weird. And then by the time it develops its own story, it's now too depressing to adapt. Granted, they are adapting The Crooked Man for the new Hellboy movie, which can't be good. Like, there's no way that's going to be good. Because it's like, yeah, that one's a really cool mystery thriller, and yeah, most of it takes place, like, in the woods, like, in a small town, so, like, the budget doesn't have to be that high. But, like, they showed off the trailer, like, a month ago, and when I watched that trailer, I'm like, Man, it just looks like I'm watching like a B-movie horror film. And that's not the vibe I want from Hellboy. Because you can tell that the budget isn't big, and that they chose this story so they can have it take place in the woods, so they wouldn't need sets. Yeah, let me adjust this. There we go. We'll clean this up a bit. Like, maybe if that game goes on sale, maybe I'll think about picking it up. Play it once. I think that's my issue, is like, if I buy that Hellboy game, I'm gonna play it just once. Cause like, what's the point? Cause sometimes I think about, legitimately, sometimes I think about picking up more of those, like, on YouTube and be done with it. I could do that. I always think about buying more of those, like, comic book adaptation video games to be like, maybe there's something here. It'd give me something to talk about during it, but then I'm like, would I just be sad playing this? would I just be sad? Because, like, every time I see get the Suicide Squad one, I would have to play that soon, wouldn't I? Before, like, the servers close. Because, like, that game's getting canceled, right? It's an always online live service game. Like, it probably only has less than a year left to live, right? Right? It's like, maybe I would have to. It's cycling the drain. Oh yeah, production works hard. Rasm? It do be that way. Think big, Gator Man. I get what you mean. I mean, like, I would be playing as King Shark if I played Suicide Squad. Like, that's just, it is what it is. Like, do you expect me to play as Captain Boomerang? Ah. Though I hear he's actually the most fun character to play as, which is, like, hilarious to think about. What do they play like? A Batman game? It's a third-person shooter. Like, that's it. It's a it's a third-person looter shooter. Everyone just uses the same guns, and each of the 4 characters have one mobility move that they have, and I think have like a special that they have, and that's the only things that differentiate them. Personally, I thought that's a bad idea for a Bootman game, but that's just me. Fortnite Suicide Squad. It's a little bit yeah. It makes me wonder, why not just have spent this money to, like, put these characters into Fortnite? Because they probably would have made more money off of licensing than what money they did make off of this game. Yeah, because I think it's specifically anytime I see Spider-Man on sale, I always think about it. Like the Insomniac Spider-Man game, I'm always like, do I want to put myself through this horror? Like this actual shit show over here. Like, do I want to do that to myself? Maybe it's good. Maybe. And then I remember that the second one exists, and I'm like, oh god. Suffer again. Oh, it do just be that way. Because that was something that, like, was really hard about sitting through the cutscenes. And there are way too many cutscenes in Guardians of the Galaxy, is I'm just like, who are these people? Like, everyone is so unrecognizable as who they're supposed to be that I'm just like, what? Man, what was the point of this being a Guardians game? Other than to tie in for the movie that came out around the time, probably. I don't know. I don't remember the timeline for these releases. But a bit to the left, right? Because they weren't even, like, fully the film versions of the characters either. I'm like, is this meant for anyone? Like, it's like, sure, Rocket's cute. You know, this is what it is. But, like, well, why are they written like this? Why? What happened to Gamora? Why she gotta act like this? I probably should darken that eye. There we go. Now they kind of match. Oh, I should probably just add... the problem with this angle is that the tail is going to look really weird, because it's just going to be a lump off to the side. Do be the otter issue. Otter's just doing their thing. No, so Earth's Mightiest Heroes came out before the Guardians, like, had their revamp. They did show... It's always the movie versions. Like, it's basically the video game. It's that every time. Because it's like, oh, they did have a cartoon on Disney Channel, and oh, it's the movie versions of the characters. Oh, they show up in Marvel Disc Wars, and it's the movie versions of the characters. And I'm just kind of like, I'm tired. Like, Marvel's always really... I think DC is a lot better at this, where there's more DC adaptations that immediately get to the point of those characters and make them, like, readable to a new audience while keeping them the same. Or at least within the same ballpark. And Marvel is always just like, so we revamped the character because we don't think audiences would like them as they are in the comics. And I'm like, but what's the point then? Now they don't work as an advertising tool. Like, for either way, right? We have the Miles issue, where people, like... Everyone has their version of Miles that they like, and dislike all the others, basically. Like, you have the people that like the TV show version of Miles, you have the people who like the movie Miles, you have the people who like the video game Miles, and then you have the people who like the first comic book version of Miles, and then you have the post Secret Wars Miles, and it's like people like one or two of these, but like never all of them. Because they are each a different character. Which is like my problem with Miles now. There are enough Miles to fill out a multiverse. There is! And people will still hate the Brian Michael Bendis one the most. I feel like that version of Miles gets so much flack for being the first one. Like, that's always the narrative people have about original Miles, is like, oh, like, they started bad, and, like, other writers had to come in and fix them. And I'm like, he has not written any worse than most other things around that time. Like, this is the same guy that created Riri Williams, and, like, that's a much worse start for a character than what Miles had. I don't think the characterization of Miles was poor. I think just... I think Brian Michael Bendis is just really bad at portraying minority issues. And so that ends up coloring a lot of how people, like, think about that era of Miles. And it's not even, like, aggressively racist or anything of that nature. It's just, oh, that's a little, like, ignorant towards the plight, and that's the worst of it. And it's just, oh, like, Brian Michael Bendis just doesn't know how to write that properly, but he wants to like have more minority characters, so he creates a bunch because he has the platform to do so, and then just doesn't fully know how to, like, represent those issues. But the characters are never bad. How bad was Riri? So Riri is not a bad character. What happened was that the original marketing and how Riri was introduced and how she existed in comments for the better part of, like, 2 years was just really poor marketing to get people to like her. Because they didn't give Riri her own comic. She was introduced as Tony Stark's teenage prodigy replacement and took over the Iron Man comic. Like, the book was still called Iron Man, but you were following Riri Williams, and that just pissed off a lot of people. Reasonably so, I think. Because, like, I was fine with them introducing Riri in Iron Man in, like, but they should have, like, immediately renamed the book to Ironheart. Since that's her fucking code name. And they just didn't, because they were afraid that people wouldn't buy the comic if it didn't have Iron Man on the cover. So, like, that wasn't, like, Bendis's fault, kind of. We can blame him if we want, and people will, because people love blaming the man. Because people are like, oh, he only wrote one good comic book ever in his life, and he's been riding that wave for the rest of his career. And they're not wrong. But I don't think they're correct either. No, seriously, so that's still bad. That's still bad because it means you're base. So, like, the way the Iron Man debacle happened, right? Like, why it's bad on all sides, right? Is you have the people who see the name Iron Man on a comic. Let me rephrase this. You have straight white men that read Iron Man on a comic and they go, I want Tony Stark. I want Iron Man. And they'll open it and there is a black teenage girl as the protagonist. And they're going to be like, what the fuck? And then you have the people that are like, we want more, like, black representation. Cool, we made Ironheart. Here you go. And they're going to be upset because the book is still called Iron Man. And that means you're not giving these characters like equal platforms. You know, the Miles Morales situation, right? Because remember, we did have an entire cartoon in which Miles Morales is just called Miles Morales in and out of costume. Beautiful. Because Peter was still the main character, and it was going to be like, oh, we have Miles and Peter as the protagonists. So we have Peter as Spider-Man, and Miles Morales as Miles Morales. He's never called Spider-Man in the show. And whenever, like, Peter shouts his name when they're both Spider-Man, he says Miles. The marketing's abysmal, is what I'm saying. I'm like, it's one of two things, right? Either really commit to him being called Spider-Man, or just give him his own name. Like, please. Granted, we kind of have to keep his name as Spider-Man, because then people will complain, like, oh, a black man can't be Spider-Man, and we don't want to have that debate again, like we do every week over at Spider-Man. You know, it's kind of like how Penny Parker is just called Penny Parker, but no one wants to bring up that debate either. So... Or the thing that I'll still always complain about, having the name of a comic be called Gwen... Yeah, Spider-Gwen, sorry. The name of the book is Spider-Gwen. Then they rebrand it as Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider, and under both comic book names, the character in the comic is neither called Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider, and is called Spider-Woman. Why? Pick one. Please. Do you know how confusing it is? How can I donate? What do you mean donate? Yeah, because the Spider-Gwen comic will basically always have that. That's so confusing, isn't it? It's so annoying. It's so annoying. Because it's like, you gave her... Have them rotate what it's called every issue. One, I don't want another Spider... You're a good artist, so I want to donate. Oh, okay. I really only have a Patreon. So, like, if you donate that way, you can. Maybe I should open up other avenues for people to just donate for a one-time donation thing. What service should I use for that? Should I open up, what is it, a Ko-fi? Is that what it is? Like, just call her Ghost Spider in the comics? They did that for a little bit. Ko-fi? Yeah. Thanks for posting the Patreon link. I appreciate it. And thank you, Anizel. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. I probably should, like, update the Patreon. I keep telling myself I need to update that page and maybe post some things there. Like, I keep telling myself, like, oh, I'll post these couple things there, and then I just don't. Because I just keep forgetting. I do apologize, guys. One day I'll remember. One day I'll do it. We can get there. We'll do that, I think. About right? Yeah, it's I probably should be doing more things like on the Patreon itself to, and I don't know, incentivize a thing. Like, I'd probably only upload things to the Patreon that I can't upload onto YouTube. And it's like not a lot, but like I can. There we go. Because I do have the archived smoke room streams that I did. And I probably could just like, because like Patreon has an embedded player, right? Like I could just slap those there, right? Because I obviously can't like upload them to YouTube unlisted and then link them there. Like that's obviously not gonna work. Do I just like upload an MP like 4 file and like call it a day? Can I draw what? Oh, okay. There we go. That's a little bit annoying. Okay. Ah, thank you, Selkie. Why? Okay. There we go. Hey. Gotta clean that up a little bit. Bruh. Friend. Like, stop. Okay. We'll do this. Is this the right thingy? Yeah. Okay. My account on Patreon is not safe for work. It's always like a little bit of annoying because I'll get like Patreon notifications to be like, hey, you need to update your certain things. Like terms of services, just because like how often Patreon like updates that to be like what you are and aren't allowed to do, being an 18 plus like account on their service. It's like, oh, I gotta read through this bullshit, and they'll be like, we will like if you don't do it, they'll demonetize you or remove you from like the Patreon platform. So it's always like annoying. It's always like, it's another Patreon notification. I wonder if it's another terms and service update thingy. Okay, always just kind of a thing. But I like having like the 18 plus thing, so if I so choose, I feel like I can do whatever I want. Kind of a thing I wish YouTube would let you do. Is just like have your account be a not safe for work account and then let you just do whatever the fuck you want. But okay. Let's see here. Hey. I just want to do it like this. Yeah, for the longer strokes, that's kind of needed. Subscribe star. It's like hard to like. The problem is like growth, right? Like if I want more viewers, like I basically am stuck with YouTube. Though then again, I'm not really doing anything like special. I probably should be doing more varied things. There we go. There we go. Let's see here. Speed draws. No. No, one that requires me to draw more. And like, what do you take me for? An artist? Nah. There we go. We have the Chunter. We love to see it. Just cute little drawing of a little Audie boy. Yeah, I think he's still... No, that's not a thing. Yeah, he's still just my my favorite protagonist in these games. He's just such a cute little guy, and he did nothing wrong. I think the see, if I chose to have a goatee in life, I would have been an otter, right? Like that's the separation, right? I chose to not have facial hair, and thus I'm a bird, and that's what separates me and Chunter. We're basically the same anywhere else in life. Or I guess, wait a minute, is the better thing that he's a bottom and I'm a top? You know, that's the clear separation, right? That's it. That's the one. That's what separates the two of us. He's a little bottom bitch boy. I'd fuck him. It's very good, very good. Bottom Josh is an otter. I mean, all otters are bottoms, right? It's the natural flow of the universe, right? You're very bottom presenting. No. That's just people not knowing. It's fine. It's fine, no worries. Anyway, I think we'll end it there for the night. I'm gonna go get some food, you know, pretend to take care of myself, as it were. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed the drawing, and I'll see you guys around.